about Star Wars now and the music from the new film, The Force Awakens. Just done a blog, or there's a written blog that sort of accompanies this video with some of the things we're looking at. So we're looking at the tuba writing that John Williams uses in the film. I've given examples of that in the written part of the blog, so I won't go into too much. What we are doing though is we're looking at Jay Bocock's arrangement for wind band of the music from the film. So what he's done is combined a multitude of parts into the tuba parts, and I think it's originally been done for the US Air Force band or the US Army band. They've put a recording up on YouTube. It's really good. They've got a really high standard of band over there, and they've also done the scherzo from X-Wings from the film. Two really good recordings. So let's have a look. We've spoken about how the tuba adds to the characters, how it adds to the emotion. So let's look at this arrangement, how some of those parts transfer over and how we would maybe play them on the instrument. And it's just giving a little bit of a practical understanding of that. So the opening part is the Jedi steps, where Rey's going up, and it's all on marimba and flute and things. There's no strings, so they use the tune percussion to give you that wash of sound. And the first entry from the tuba is just simply and all that does is it just grounds the sound of the wind band, basically helps to add the emotion. So the next part is followed the Force sort of theme that we've just been playing from the start of the video, and we've got something a bit more moving and starts to put a bit more emotion into the music. So last bit should go. And then we're into the main theme, or the main march from Star Wars. I'm switching a few notes today because I was playing B flat all day yesterday, and I've not had an awful lot of time this morning to do much practice. So it's a little bit of a practice session back on E flat before tonight, playing this in concert. So basically there's lots of movement, lots of emotion in the bass part, and for a bass line there's some melodic structure. And it's the same in the film. That's where the tuba comes in there and adds to the dynamics, or adds to the contrast. And it builds up that suspense towards the finale. This is at the very end of the movie. This music here comes from. And that movement towards that note there then brings back the main theme from Star Wars. And it's just as Luke turns around that we get this main theme. And it kind of ties everything back to the original series of films. So the main theme here doesn't contain the sort of really famous tuba part that goes so it's the downward scale, that was just directly from memory, but that sort of big bounding part adds to the effect. That's what it goes like, and that's just really long. The gap comes out over the whole orchestra. I remember playing an arrangement of Star Wars and some Scottish tunes last year in the Queen's Hall, and that had to come across the whole orchestra. You're the only player going dum bum 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 ba da da dum, and the brass are so important in that opening theme. So we've just simply got and that's the little segment of an original theme that comes in just as the credits are coming up in the film. So lots of offbeat notes, lots of accents, and that's where the excitement comes from this tune. especially later on at 42 where it becomes a little bit more active. Those fourth beat notes on the first beat note just add a little emphasis. And it just pushes the music on to the next bar. Then again, we've got these are contrasted. Where parts of the bar are on the beat, parts of the bar aren't, it adds just that excitement that John Williams is trying to get. All of this part's very similar to the tuba part, so I'm not going to go into how the arrangers rewritten some of this. It's quite low. This was written for C tuba, and that's got a bigger sound in the E flat. We already discussed that with the B flat instruments. There are, for this set, there's E flat bass parts that are an octave up. We'll go at that in a minute. Now the next section is this sort of menacing thing. I've spoken about the tuba and the brass being used a lot to, in all of the films, to represent the dark side and to represent like Darth Vader and things. And that's the tuba part that's written another one-band arrangement for the Imperial March, which is quite, it's very dark and sinister. But this bit's similar to this. I think it's just leading up to when we first meet Kylo Ren. It's a string bass part, been rearranged into the tuba, and it's got to be nice and smooth, but quite menacing. It's written here slower with menace. And then there's the rest of the music comes in with the brass. But this leads towards this change in style. He's done it quite well. What he's had to do is he's had to think what themes would go well running it on. So I think we just had Rey's theme just before that there. And we're now moving on to the theme for Kylo Ren, which I think was in a bit of contemporary sort of style writing, where we've got 3-4-5-8, 3-4-5-8, and we play off the beat. 1, 2, 1. And that goes with a very light sort of over the top of that. So that's just what we've got there. That's again very similar to the tuba part. I think it's a bit lighter, so it might be the string bass there. But this bit before is most definitely a string part. And it's just playing it all nice and smooth, string bass, so they'd be able to blow it all the way over. He's written it here for tuba, so we've got to try and think of that when we play it. Now the next bit's a March of Resistance, which is basically a big fugue. I said I was going to talk about brass writing in it in the video, so this is us doing it now. It's a big fugue with all these sort of brass entries. It starts off with on the horns, and that big triumphant impact there lets us know it's going to be a tune for the sort of good guys in the film. We've then got just lots of interjections. And we've got, this is all really low, okay, it's set for C tuba, they'd be able to play quite economically down there. On an E flat, you might work a bit harder, maybe sound a little better. The E flat part is up an octave. We've got little parts of the tunes, we've got to bring them out. Because it's all a big fugue, it switches around between the horns, switches around between the cellos, and it's got a really quite a depth to dark sound, which represents Resistance. It's a bit different to what you'd expect. You'd expect it to be maybe a bit more like the original theme, where it's all triumphant and things. But it's got this kind of resistance, obviously given the character being a little bit kind of mysterious. And a lot of the film builds up to this scene where they're on the planet that they're on, can't remember the name of it, and basically Kylo Ren's appeared with the First Order, and they basically look like they're doomed. This theme comes in when the X-Wings appear, and it's the first time you see the X-Wings in the film as a group. You see one at the start, on, I think it's Dracul. But this is the first part when the Resistance come as a group together, and it's just a big impact. And the whole Resistance march is written in a way that creates excitement, creates tension, but it's got a hint of triumph to it, I feel. And that's what all these semi-quaver fanfares do. So it's just identifying where the tune is. It's a combination here of a few parts. I think we cover some of the horn stuff, because the horns can play quite low, so they're used by Williams and he's writing here. Probably cover some of little bits of the trombones, and most definitely a lot of the string bass stuff is covered in the tuba part here. So that's some of the arranging that he's done. We then got the ending, which is just a big sort of recap of the first couple of tunes. So we've got long notes there, but they're really important to sustaining the band, sustaining the motion there. And we're playing, when playing it tonight, playing the concert ending. And that's ending. So that's Star Wars The Force Awakens, that's some of the tunes. I really like John Williams writing in it. He's become more of a contemporary composer, and I think it's appreciated a lot more in these films now. The original ones, the stuff was quite standard, whereas there's a lot more. His music's a lot more exciting now, I think. I do like that in the film as well. He relates back to a lot of the original themes, and especially the Force theme is quite reflective. And it's quite nice the way he's changed that. It's a bit like when he done Jurassic World last year with Michael Yanko, and they took the original Jurassic Park theme and altered it for the movie, and it worked really well. So seeing that within the films, it's going to be interesting over the next few years when they're coming out, and it's something that I really like. It's film music, so it's quite nice to study it in this way. We've got to remember that they're always writing with characters in mind, always trying to put an emotion that you can't show through the dialogue, through the acting, that there's this sort of third element of emotion there. And that's something that they've got to think of when they're writing, so using the tuba for the darker themes, using the trumpets to sort of sound triumphant, the main opening theme, are all examples of this. And it works quite well, because we're looking at, in the project, there's a fair amount we've been looking at the development of the instrument, looking at how composers have used it, and film music composers have to use the characteristics, so they've got to really think what combination of instruments gives them the best sound. So that's The Force Awakens.